Effective, healthy blood pressure support takes more than
This is for my Republicans here. I'm gonna go to Union Bank of Florida, Southern Life Insurance and Trust Company. So they wanted to list to see who sold or disposed of slaves who were mortgaged to those institutions, respectfully, and the number and appraised value of such slaves. This was signed February 16th, Happy Black History Month, 1842. Well, adopted by the House at least. I just never heard of a foreclosed slave because I would really love to put a mortgage on my iPad, put a mortgage on another piece of property that, people today wouldn't really think of. And that's really why we need these statutes in our schools. I understand people were upset about African American history or AP African American history not being taught or banned in certain states. But I believe that if we teach the statutes in these states and make our kids question, why did Black people, why did slaves, why did anybody have a mortgage on another person? That would be enlightening to that student, that parent, that teacher in that community to really understand why these laws were written in America and in the free state of Florida. So I believe if we're going to continue to try to teach Black history in our schools, let's get the statutes in the schools. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing the content. Happy Black History Month.
About one of your instances that you've done a large deal. Like what was the dollar amount to that deal, if you could share that with us, and like what was the experience through that process?
I would say it wasn't a single. I think one of my best solo years, about 2022, I got like $1.8 million solo for like 10 different projects, and it ranged between the Omega Lamplighters, which is a youth program. Appreciate that. It was the Omega Lamplighters, which is a youth program under Omega Psi Phi fraternity. We got our first allocation there. I had one allocation for a suicide prevention program, another one for a scholarship for low-income college students, another one for elderly for youth students to essentially teach old people to stop being scammed online so they can understand. Because during the pandemic, everybody was scamming the old folks, right? So they ended up being a different mix there. Also, some money for people that were coming out of prison so that they could transition back into life well, so at least the workforce development part was there. So to me, it was more getting out of the narrative of DeSantis and the nonsense.
You right, son, my bad. Give him 90 yards. I told you I had it. What told his mama told me he needed a scholarship. He needed a change in his life. And I'm going to give it to him in Eugene, baby. I'm going to give it to him in Eugene right now. We're going right now. We're going to the 90 yards. It ain't over till I take us home.
Welcome back to the channel. It looks a little grainy here, a little fuzzy. Hold on a minute. Camera catch me, hopefully. Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. If you were here last night, I tried to stream last night. As you can normally tell, this is my normal background. I'm traveling. I'm in Tallahassee today. If you follow me on Instagram, I was in DR, or not tagged Jacksonville, but I was in Punta Cana. Straighten myself up this weekend with my wife. Had a little getaway from the family and just really getting back to the States. But then, as you know, I'm a real lobbyist professionally, so I had to get back to Tallahassee. In Florida, we're dealing with a budget crisis, some could say, because the Republicans here are fighting with the governor for good and bad reasons. You can talk about that another time. I'm not going to focus on the Florida politics because that's a whole nother area that most of the world doesn't care about, because the travel ban doesn't affect people in Florida. You know, it'll just really be a federal issue that'll drive the headlines. And that's what we'll get into first off. But either way, I want to start off today's show. I got a couple other things to start off. We're going to be on YouTube today, Twitch, and Kick. I may do Rumble. But either way, I had a great time in DR and had to get back to Tallahassee. In Tallahassee, I don't live there. I don't live here anymore, at least. So it was interesting to travel back. My son is with his grandparents, I would say, and then had to get back here. And luckily, hold on, what the hell? I'm hearing something in the background. Hold on, y'all. I don't know. Who the hell? Where are these background noises coming from, bro? I know y'all can't hear it, but I hear it and it's throwing me off. Okay, shut up. Okay, pause and whatever. Anyway, had a great trip, got back. They started a budget conference, and basically budget conference is kind of like in Congress. It's a bicameral form of government. The president or governor sets the expectation for governors, both the elected leaders, the legislators, they actually put the budget together. And in Florida, we need a balanced budget, unlike the federal government, where they can put out the big, beautiful bill that has $4 trillion in spending that'll piss Elon Musk off to the point of leaving Doge and leaving the administration, which has happened all on my vacation. So I'm really catching up to a point of I've been out of the loop. Because I'm posted like, oh, the beach was so beautiful. The beach merchants were amazing. Anything you needed from the beach merchants, they were there. But it's like, I mean, souvenirs and things of that nature, right? But all put together, I wasn't involved in the politics, but I had to get back to it. So I had to get back to Tallahassee. One of my projects, I said it last night, if you happen to be on, my first project closed out. We had $286,000 that came in for Holocaust survivors that are living in South Florida to make sure they have full wraparound services for a community. And really, Florida being the third largest state for Holocaust survivors in the country, working with a nonprofit that has a unique idea, very critical for a very needed community. It was like, all right, cool. I got in, we locked that in. Very great conversation with the client. I should have that content soon. She said she'll send it over. But to the main point, I think my eyes look kind of reddish. Yeah, I smoked this morning. Maybe I need to drop them again. But it was great to show the impact of that, like using my impact in policy and government, whatever, to say, all right, cool, let me make an impact here, right? And it was a good thing. From there, waiting on a couple other projects. We have something for a courthouse, trying to get a courthouse funding. We have a water project. And we also have a youth development project that's left to get funded. And we're really on 1 hour meeting notice. So I decided to say, hey, instead of waiting, honestly, until session's over and going back home, let me just pack my stuff, set up here. You can't see my setup, but clearly different background from my office. And we may be able to start transporting, like, as I'm traveling, podcasting in different corners, because it's going to be a long summer. I won't be home all summer, but as we start traveling more clearly, I'm going to have my whole backdrop and the lighting set up together. I need one bag that can carry the monitor and all that. But either way, appreciate y'all tapping in. Let's get into this travel ban. Because even though I'm going to talk about the Elon Musk stuff, we're going to go into the congressional hearing. We have who's this that's testifying? Let me look at this. Howard Lutnick is testifying before the House Appropriations Committee. We'll discuss some of that. He's doing his introduction now. Ted Cruz got into it with my boy, the filibuster himself, Cory Booker. Then also how Elon Musk is dividing the House. We'll do the Musk interview, but some of the electeds in Congress who are going through there, and also Congresswoman Summer Lee and Linda McMahon, the former WWE chairwoman, who's now the Department of Education chairwoman, and her lack of knowledge on Ruby Bridges and the Tulsa riots to see if they would be considered DEI. I don't think they're DEI. There would be more American history. And how do we at least tell that story so kids know exactly what people used to go through? And also some of the contradictions that we're talking to the history of Black folks in government, right? And programs and things. It's kind of interesting how you tie some of it into the young man, Antoine, what's his name? Antoine Massey, who's escaped from the Louisiana penitentiary. They say he escaped. He says he was let out. But I know one thing we won't be let out. Well, one thing we are letting out. Illegal immigrants. And after the situation in Colorado this past week, Trump says that, you know what? We have a travel ban. So let's get into that. I'm going to set the chat up. Give me 2 seconds. I got to set the formalities up. If it's your first time here, I'm your boy, the hip hop lobbyist. I'm a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. Never wanted to work in politics. I fell into it, and 15 years later, I'm successful doing it. But either way, let's get into our good president, President Trump. I'm gonna check the chat. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Last night I did have audio issues. Let me stop. Last night I had audio issues. Right. I was talking and I saw in my OBS, my levels were showing, but the screen, nobody could hear. Like, this is a screen capture, right? So if you can't hear this, please let me know in the chat so I can correct it. I thought I did it in my pre-load up. Victor, hey, what's going on? But if it messes up, just let me know in the chat so I can correct it, because I don't want to have an audience of people, like 40 plus people here. 2,000 came through. Some people were leaving. I'm like, why people leaving? You know, whatever. And they were like, oh, we can't hear. And I didn't realize it was a issue I was having. Luckily, GPT helped me. But either way, let's get into President Trump. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Let me switch this over on the other screen. Wait, I got the wrong screen. Let's see. Here, hold on. Hold on. Yep, y'all see what we gotta do, baby. Either way, let me get this started. President Trump. There we go.
The recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. In the 21st century, we've seen one terror attack after another carried out by foreign visa overstayers from dangerous places all over the world. And thanks to Biden's open door policies, today there are millions and millions of these illegals who should not be in our country. In my first term, my powerful travel restrictions were one of our most successful policies, and they were a key part of preventing major foreign terror attacks on American soil. We will not let what happened in Europe happen to America.
Hey, Victor,
that's why on my first day
Rico.
back in office, I directed the Secretary of State to perform a security review of high-risk regions and make recommendations for where restrictions should be imposed. Among the national security threats their analysis considered are the large-scale presence of terrorists, failure to cooperate on visa security, inability to verify travelers' identities, inadequate record-keeping of criminal histories, and persistently high rates of illegal visa overstays, and other things. Very simply, we cannot have open migration from any country where we cannot safely and reliably vet and screen those who seek to enter the United States. That is why today I am signing a new executive order placing travel restrictions on countries including Yemen, Somalia, Haiti, Libya, and numerous others. The strength of the restrictions we're applying depends on the severity of the threat posed. The list is subject to revision based on whether material improvements are made, and likewise new countries can be added as threats emerge around the world. But we will not allow people to enter our country who wish to do us harm, and nothing will stop us from keeping America safe. Thank you very much.
This is what Ivy League universities
can
get into with a 3.6 GPA.
Gotta get off the ad. I got a call coming in. Get past that. First of all, let me start this. Did all these terrorists come from these countries? Maybe that's the first question I have to ask, especially when it includes Haiti. I'm not Haitian, but I was in the Espanol, like I said earlier, the island of Espanol, DR, Dominican Republic, and Haiti on, collectively. And I don't know where they're tied into what happened in Colorado or any of these other terrorist countries. So I'm just pulling up real quick on the side. Because it seems like it's the same countries from last time. Like, what are the 12 countries? I'm gonna pull this over here. Just make sure it looks well. On some of this, gotta straighten my vertical up from people on the vertical stream on YouTube. Patience with me, please. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all tapping in for the stream. I'm gonna get to some of the testimony on the congressional hearings later and some of this other stuff, but I'm just kind of perplexed a bit here. While I got y'all here, I want to look through this myself. I just gotta straighten it up for my vertical folks. My bad. I don't have a scene for this. I probably should have a scene for this, but it's a lot of words. But it's a lot of... y'all probably getting dizzy like, bruh, what's up, bruh? They would leave it there. Also streaming on Twitch as well, so if you want to tap in over there, you can. But during the first administration, our entry of foreign nationals,
Yes, yes. Protect the citizens from aliens who intend to commit terrorist acts, threaten national security, espouse hateful ideology, or otherwise exploit the immigration laws. Okay. But I'm looking for... Let's do a search. Where's... Yes, Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen. These are a lot of African countries outside of Venezuela's. Partially restricted entry from Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkey. Okay. So it's all right for Afghanistan. It's giving us the reasons. Can we see here? All right. A Taliban SDGT group controls Afghanistan, lacks a competent and cooperative central authority for passports. Okay. They're at least this is the reason for Burma. What are we saying about Burma? B-12 overstay. They have a high overstay rate. All right. And they're not taking their folks back. That's what they're saying for Chad. And I'm not trying to take sides on this. First, I'm not trying to take sides on this. I'm trying to get out the media narrative because the media is not going to tell you what's in it. They're going to tell you the travel ban. And at least understanding Trump's reasoning. I'm not supporting it. We're just waiting to get to Haiti because there's been a strong narrative while they've been importing Africans from South Africa, white Africans from South Africa into America. They're demonizing other African countries. But why? Understand it. And at least from here, let's do more research and get to the point of saying, okay, cool, yeah, this shit ain't gonna work. Understanding why some of the judges would be like, you know what, yes, this doesn't work for what we're saying. But right here, they're saying in Chad, the B1, B12 visa overstay rate of 49.54%. FM and J visa overstay. And I don't know a lot about these visas. If you know about it, Google it, hit me up in the chat. But at least going for now, the reason, overstays of the Congo and Equatorial Guinea. If you don't know about Guinea, Equatorial Guinea's 29%. FMJ visa overstay. Well, shit, what is? I might as well look it up, shouldn't I? What is the FMJ overstay? FMJ visa. Academic, vocational students. So this is the Harvard, this is the student visas. Okay, a lot of the other student visas they're overstaying. All right. For Haiti, 25% of student visas. Wow, this is... I don't believe this. I don't believe this for 1 second. You know why? Hold on. Let me make sure. You know why I don't believe this? Because, and I'll pull it up here. Haitian immigrants, Texas border. Because this happened during the Biden administration, where you have this young man here, like, for those who can see it, this happened during the Biden administration where they were catching Haitian immigrants who traveled, as you see here, from South America, through South America to the Texas border, right? Through caravans, through the gangs, so all other stuff. So all that happened. So I wouldn't say they all came in. So I think it's a strong demonization from the Trump administration on Haiti, the Congo, African countries. You're saying 25% overstay. Bruh, we got other countries 55% overstaying, 70%, 29% in the Congo, 55. Like that's a minimal amount. Like comparatively, right? Even for Afghanistan. So you have to tie in that they flooded in during the Biden administration. Even though the horse, they had men on horses looking like slavery when it was happening, right? Okay, cool. I'm not believing this part. And I'm not Haitian, I'm Jamaican. Well, half Jamaican. But I support my Haitian brothers because it's like, bruh, why is the world demonizing the first country that ever freed themselves from slavery? This has got to end. Like, for real. Like let's be for real. But it's widely known he lacks the central authority, sufficient, and there are wars that do happen in these countries around elections. So let's not be real. Iran, state sponsor of terrorism. This has been, I'm an 80s baby. Grew up in the 90s. Iran's always been on that list. I'm not surprised by that. I'm not going to take a position. Libya. I'm not saying it's not a solid reason, but it's like, okay, we're just going to stamp the same thing we have for this other one. Iran bomb, we're going to damn near stamp this for you, but no terrorism really mainly listed. Somalia, with passports, we don't have overstay. Sudan, still a higher student visa rate than the Haitian students, my Haitian students. But Burundi, of course, Cuba, but they don't have an overstay rate that's too high. They like, look, even that, they're not. Damn it, they're suspended. That's Laos. So a lot of this seems like outside of the terrorism countries, Sierra Leone, 35% student overstay, and this is really the student visas, which another stream I did talk about. I get it. There needs to be a point of like Harvard, Columbia, they're coming after. I get where 30-40% of your students can be international. They're paying international fees. They have the money. It's boosting everything, whatever, right? The local economy, air traffic, everything. Cool. But in this branded America first, they're going to have to start letting more American students in. I'm like, that's basically what we're saying. Well, not I'm saying what Trump's saying. It's like, I get it, but that's what Trump is laying out there in this. And I'm going to close this out because this, my bad, I should have straightened it up for my vertical. On my Canvas stream, I saw it. My YF them. Who was talking about white Africans? Trump is. Trump is always talking about white Africans. I'm going to your comment, Dan. That's his whole narrative that Elon put in his back before he kicked Elon out. It is what it is. I'm not Paul. I don't agree with that all the way. Now, America's the best. Cool, right? But we have to be cordial with other countries. And I think bringing young talent in is good. But what I don't agree with is the Ivy League's just basically flooding all the international students or any access in, like Trump saying, hey, we have an overstay. But I don't agree with them attacking Haiti the way they've always done it. Those white Africans are upper middle class, self-dependent. Yeah, no, I'm not HM. What I'm trying to be is more, not just call it racism and call it what it is. Like, those people are there, but also let's not act like some of the black Africans that are coming over here. This is the H&M comment. Let's not act like they're poor and destitute and living in huts. Not everybody's poor in Africa, the continent of Africa, right? All those countries listed here, and some being on the continent of Africa, some of these kids have money, especially if you're student visa. You're not coming over here using all the financial aid. Like, let's be for real. They're not going to fly you over here, pay $50,000 a semester on student financial aid, like a Pell Grant. It's not happening. So they're paying out of pocket, so they got to have some kind of cash coming over here. Not everyone, but some. Because I haven't met a lot of poor African students, to be real. I'm gonna get to the chat a little more. Let me get to this congressional hearing, because Trump has done a number every day. It's something new, but Elon, I think, is doing the bigger number. Let's tap in here with Howard Lutnick. Let me straighten this up on my vertical, folks. I'm gonna start the audio at least.
Of course, and we didn't really understand what type of advisory committee we need to understand how to do a census. It didn't seem logical. With respect to the questionnaire, we have not considered that as of yet. So we have not spent the time thinking about those topics.
Probably the census.
The decennial census is quite far away, and we have plenty of time to think about that going forward.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back.
Judge Carter.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Mr. Secretary. My district in Central Texas has become a leader in semiconductor production. thanks to strong partnerships between the state, the local political organizations, the industry, the universities, and the workforce training centers, including programs tailored for veterans and military families. How is the department supporting these types of locally driven efforts? What more can be done to accelerate the pipeline of skilled American workers entering the semiconductor industry?
Workforce training will be a centerpiece of the Trump administration, and I have been tasked to be part of the team to build that. So if the trillions of dollars...
Damn it, man.
I worried about...
to operate those
I haven't paid for
gigantic
YouTube Premium
production
yet, y'all.
facilities, to reshore manufacturing. We need to train great Americans to be, we say HVAC technicians. You realize these factories have these really high-tech closed-loop cooling systems. Amazing, but training our workforce to do this is really a key part of the administration. I think we'll train 5 million Americans for these great jobs that are coming, just like that semiconductor plant in Arizona. I mean, 3,000 jobs for each plant, and they're building 10 of them. So these are just great jobs coming, and Texas, I know, is going to have a great participation in that, and both you use the schools, and I think it will be an extraordinary outcome for Americans.
Well, Samsung's being a good neighbor in my district, and I'm real proud of what they're doing. As a member of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, I remain deeply concerned about the national security risks tied to our reliance on foreign-made semiconductor components. What step is the department taking to reduce our dependence on overseas manufacturing, particularly for chips that support critical defense systems?
Taiwan produces 90% of the world's wafers, which you then chip apart, and that becomes chips. So the United States has demand for 10 million sort of high-end wafers.
Hold on, I'm going to switch over to the Democrats having a press conference now outside the Capitol. Good old Chuck Schumer and Democrats talking about Trump not being the king. Let's tap in here and see what the Democrats have to say there and fill in the gap, because I honestly feel, respectfully, the Democrats are pushing a narrative just to spin the block and have nothing substantial to say outside of Medicare, Social Security, and nothing that could actually be influential to everyday people. So let's check out here, see where we are. I'm on a 1 hour meeting notice, so I'll be continuing to check my phone in a second. If I do get a notice, I'm about here for it.
Thank you all for coming, and to my great colleagues, great Judiciary Committee members, Durbin and White House and Hirono. So, we all know that Donald Trump sees himself as a king more than a president. Trump is not a king. The Republican so-called Big Beautiful Bill will effectively place a crown on Donald Trump's head. Buried deep in the Republican bill is a really nasty provision that would strip federal judges of one of their most critical powers, the ability to force their own rulings. In other words, Republicans want to codify into law Donald Trump's attacks on our judicial system. They want to gut our federal courts until they're utterly powerless. They want to buck the Constitution and bulldoze the rule of law. This is dangerous, it's reckless, it's un-American. And it isn't just a policy difference. This is an assault on the rule of law, an assault on the independence of the judiciary.
I feel you,
and
Paul.
on the very checks and balances that have defined this country since its inception. So today, I'm announcing that Democrats will fight with every tool we have to stop this provision from becoming law, this evil, un-American provision that flies in the face of the Constitution completely. This provision as I said, is one of the most direct assaults on the separation of powers in recent memory. It essentially hands the government officials, including Donald Trump, the license to ignore any ruling from a federal judge that they don't like. And it strips the courts of any power to hold people accountable if they violate court orders, including the Supreme Court. Shame on the House of Representatives putting this in, on the Republicans in the House of Representatives. Shame. This is so bad, it's beyond the pale.
Man, Chuck, who you energizing with this weak ass speech? Respectfully, Senator, like, your head's down, not because I paused it, pause. Let me. But even if, hold on, oh wait.
So,
yeah, at least he looks presentable.
As we all know,
he can't. You know why? It's not even authentic what you're saying. Just like every damn Democrat that's out there, nothing's authentic. He's a king. The judicial system. I don't know why I'm stuttering so much today. Let me get a drink of my Dunkin' Donuts strawberry culotta. They're not sponsoring this segment, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. All right. Chuck is another problem. What's wrong with the Democrats for real? Just like Hakeem Clap Your Hands Jeffries, right? It doesn't make any sense why you're trying to energize people. You got your glasses on and you're reading the speech. Do you think anybody gives a shit about you protesting outside the Capitol today? About Trump's tax plan? What is your plan? Where's your legislation to stop it? Why don't you present that to the people instead of this nonsense? Just to talk up here with your panties in a bunch. And guess what? I'm a Democrat and I don't believe in the bullshit that y'all on right now. Karen Jean Pierre wrote a book. I got to get into this too. And I kind of gets to a point of saying, all right, cool. I said a little bit of it last night, but I had audio issues, right? We have lived in a generation where these Chuck Schumers, the Alcee Hastings, the older people have to die in this office just because of generation. Now, I know in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, when these people were born, the main thing they tried to do is maybe be a farmer like their father, a foreman, a mason, or just something in general. Some people decided to be athletes. Athletics became a thing. By the 80s and 90s, being in the NBA, NFL, tennis star, golf phenom was a path for people. Cool. Politically, some people saw a path. They may go get money, like, you know what, I think I could serve. I think I could serve my community. I used to love the kids, and you get caught up in the system. I have to raise the money and be the talking head on all these issues against the machine to be the same machine that you're fighting. But your machine lost touch with the main base of people that, like, you know what the fuck are we talking about? Because when I'm going to the grocery store, when I'm going to work, when I'm working remote, when I'm traveling, when I'm trying to go pay daycare, when I'm trying to just make ends meet, not me personally, but people in general, whether they're taking the train in DC or they're sitting in traffic in Atlanta, they're trying to make it work. Right? Even in New York traffic, DC traffic, Cali traffic, wherever, right? I already said DC, wherever. It's a point of people on a mission to make ends meet from day to day, whether they're wealthy or not. But it gets to the point of saying, you know what, these Democrats, they don't understand any of this. And it's like you expect to have the judicial part of this, say, hey, we're going to have this part in, we're going to talk about Medicaid, Social Security. The people don't give a shit. They see how the courts are kind of working in both favors, because when y'all get in power, the courts stop y'all shit too. And when they get in power, the courts stop it. So why are we even in a panties bunch uproar? It doesn't matter.
One of the most essential things that the judiciary has, its ability to enforce its own orders. That's the authority we've given the judiciary. And this proposal would effectively render judicial rulings meaningless. Just words on paper with no power.
You think brothers in the hood gonna care about that? You mean tell me if they set precedent for anybody to not listen to the law, you think all these brothers that in the hood in Chicago that y'all love to claim in the Mecca of black hood and black crime, right? Y'all think they really gonna care? Hell no. We don't give no F about the law. The law don't give no F about us. That was a song that people used to sing in these streets, at least in Palm Beach. But That's not moving the needle, Chuck. Now, for our older people, for the like 70, 80, 90-year-olds, they're the ones that are going to really care. But to the younger people who you want to get out there and vote, this doesn't move them. Because you know what they're saying on the other side? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And they probably work 55 hours this week. Just to work the 55 hours and be like, damn, I only made $80 more. And I worked 15 more hours. And if I wasn't taxed more on that, guess what? I may have had 250 more. You never know. That's the problem. People sacrificing their day-to-day, and Republicans are speaking of issues that like, hey, we know you're in the service industry. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They're talking about judicial appointments. I don't give a shit. I just work 55 hours this week. Don't tell me nothing about what the judicial is, because guess what? I may go rob a bitch this week if I don't get my 55 hours. Chuck, that's what the people are saying.
Power to hold anyone accountable.
I'm just being rude. I believe that's what the people are saying.
What it is. It's the get out of jail free card for Donald Trump. This is the get out of jail free card for Donald Trump. Now, let's see here.
Exactly. Irish, I agree with you. Paul, I'm right there with you.
This is also a death sentence for judicial independence in America. It's not democracy, it's authoritarianism. It's a move ripped right straight from a playbook of a dictator. And we all know Donald Trump is a would-be dictator. So you have to ask yourself, why now? Why is he doing it now? Well, Donald Trump's losing in court over and over and over again. Our analysis showed that just in the last month, the Trump administration lost a whopping 97% of rulings in federal district courts. And this came from judges across the political spectrum. Many of them were Trump appointees or Bush appointees, including judges that Donald Trump appointed have ruled against him. It drives him crazy that the judges he appointed are actually following the law instead of following his whim, his wish, his desire to be a dictator.
I mean, and respectfully, Chuck, sorry, Senator Schumer, I think every president has gone through that, where they've appointed somebody, Bush appointed folks, I think, who voted against him, H. Clinton, H. Bush, Clinton, whoever. So it's not uncommon. I think Tony Barrett, the one who abstained from voting on the charter school piece, I think that was the one that was more shocking to me, because I thought that was almost a done deal just from looking at the vote and the structure of the courts. But these are who you wanted. Bring better legislation to the table. That's even for constitutional conservatives. And this is why I tell some folks, like, it sounds great and it sounds good and bad when it's like, you know, they're taking over the courts. But when you really take the base on, okay, if this is the foundation of how they think and they have too much power, you're going to splinter your own cell. Like, you have Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, Gary Payton. You have a whole stacked team. You have LeBron, Anthony Davis, whoever the hell they brought in, Austin Reeves. It doesn't work. It gets to a point of saying, you know, you can't have a super team. Excuse me. I burped all in your face. That's the Dunkin' Donuts. My apologies there. But you can't have a super team and win. And that's what's happening on the Republican side. So cool. They're losing the courts. They're spiraling out of control, but it's like, come on, you know, they're just gonna bring another piece of legislation in. Because that is how in The Color of Law, great book, you learn about how they stripped out the housing laws by having multiple lawsuits. So even for a fact of right here with the courts right now, it's like, listen, this isn't the only lawsuit that's in the coffers. In order for them to strip back education, in order for them to strip back a lot of stuff, even these threats to the courts, they have to have a series of pieces of legislation. So they'll get building blocks to it to strip back. Just like the Civil Rights Act, how they built it up and they stripped it back. Percy versus Black Board of Education, public school funding, whatever you want to really break it down to, from a state level to a federal level. The courts make a decision and it goes from there. But when the deck is stacked if you play spades. You don't win with all spades sometimes. You could have 6 spades and they're all low spades and can't win shit. And this is exactly what happens. Like, yeah, I got 6 spades, but they're all 3 of spade, 4 of spade, 5 of spade, 6 of spade, 7 of spade. You have no face cards. You're cutting, but somebody could still dog walk your shit. That's basically it, because you have overpower. Let's get back to Chuck. I'm rambling a bit.
So, rather than respect these rulings, as any president before would have done, Trump and his allies want to rewrite the rules to make himself untouchable.
They already said he is.
So, congressional Republicans, sadly, in a great tragic day for democracy, are trying to bend their knees and bend the Constitution and bail Donald Trump out by letting him ignore the courts and all these court rulings that have been against him. And listen to this one. One House Republican even admitted at a town hall meeting in his district that he didn't know this provision was in the bill when he voted for it. What about all the other Republicans who voted for it? Republicans in Congress have been happy to roll over and hand the keys of the House and Senate to Donald Trump and unelected billionaires like Elon Musk. And they're allowing them to run this country into the ground. They're allowing the whole sinew, the whole fabric of what America is all about to be ripped apart and upended in a way we have never, ever seen before. The Republicans in the House were so eager to rubber stamp Donald Trump's monstrosity of a bill that they didn't even read all of it. Or worse, some of them read it and then didn't care. Because protecting Trump matters more to them than protecting our democracy, than protecting the rule of law, than protecting the Constitution. Because whether it's Trump or Musk or any other corrupt official, Republicans are trying to create a world in which powerful people face no consequences, no matter what they do. That's not democracy. That's oligarchy. No one, not Donald Trump, not Elon Musk, not any crooked politician or billionaire, is above the law. And if Republicans think they can pull a fast one on the American people by slipping this provision into their bill, they've got another thing coming. So we Democrats are here to sound the alarm. We're united. We'll fight like hell using every tool in our toolbox to stop this provision from becoming law. Next is Senator Durbin. Let me just take all my papers here. Richard. Yeah, I got it. Yep, I'll read it.
Thanks, Chuck Schumer. I want to say a kind word about my colleagues from the Senate Judiciary Committee, Sheldon Whitehouse and Mazie Hirono. Something interesting has happened in that committee in recent times. I've been on the committee long enough to have considered literally hundreds, if not thousands, of nominees, and I kind of know the line of questioning that'll be asked of each of the nominee candidates. That's changed. It changed this year. The questions that are being asked are more fundamental to the Constitution. Basic questions like, do you believe the executive is bound by court orders? I wouldn't have thought to ask that in previous years, but I had to ask it this year because the question is whether or not, given a court order, Donald Trump or his administration will feel bound to follow it as a rule of law. The questions are asked and the answers are all over the park. The uncertainty of these nominees as to what the president would do when pushed to the limit, where the court is saying to him, you have to stop doing this, or you have to start doing this, or you'll be found.
I'm not an ageist. But I think this style speech may have worked in the 50s and the 60s when these guys were young whippersnappers like Jerry Jones, right? This doesn't get, and I know the Senate is more the senior chamber. It's not like the House where it's more brash and rah, rah, rah in your face. But people want to see that rah, rah. We don't live in the newspaper era. Put it this way. Nobody's sitting down at 7, 8 o'clock to watch the news anymore. Tom Brokaw wouldn't survive in this era. This is the get in your face, Housewives, Netflix, Hulu world. You have to hold attention. And right now, nobody wants to pay attention to the shit because it's like, bro, what are we even saying? All of these old people arguing. All you all have health. Every single one of y'all have health care. Every single one of y'all have millions in the bank. Every single one of y'all have a staff that's dedicated, that's making over 6 figures. The people that y'all arguing about don't make half the shit that y'all have, and they will probably rob y'all ass to get there. They don't want to hear this shit. By the Democrats or anybody else. I just, sorry for cussing. They told me to stop cussing. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Contempt. Donald Trump doesn't like to lose. We know that.
Nobody
He's said it
cares.
over and over again. And he's been losing one court case after another because of his outrageous executive orders. 97%, according to Chuck Schumer, and I don't doubt it, have found against him in the courts and what he's been trying to do. And when he loses, what does he say about the judges?
The
Lunatics,
agreement was
communists.
Scott
These people hate
and,
America.
Howard.
Even the judges that he appointed, for goodness sakes. He's turned on Leonard Leo, his patron for so many years, and called him a sleazebag. You can't keep up with this president when it...
We're going to go to the White House. President Trump speaking with the German.
Absolutely, sure. So to let you know,
Bilateral agreement with the Chancellor of Germany.
Donald Trump's grandfather, born in 1869, close to Bad Dürkheim.
Right?
Yeah.
That's called
and his
serious.
Christian name was Friedrich.
Right? That's serious German.
Serious German.
That's serious. Bad Dürkheim is serious German. But I want to thank you very much for, first of all, I want to thank you for that. That's
My
beautiful.
pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Fantastic. We'll put it up in a place of honor.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, let's see, to put it up there someplace. It's an honor to have you. As you know, the Chancellor just won a great election, very, very strong election. Very respected man. I can tell you, we've been on the phone many times talking about some of the problems of the world outside of Germany. And it's very sad what's going on. We both feel that way. What's going on with Russia, Ukraine, and other things we talk about, but Russia, Ukraine in particular. I'd like to see it end, and maybe it'll end, but we get some news, there'll be some fighting. Something happened a couple of days ago, and now they do a return, and here it goes. It's not good. He's unhappy about it. I'm unhappy about it. But I think eventually we'll be successful in stopping the bloodshed. It's pure bloodshed. 5,000-6,000 young soldiers a week are being killed. You know that those numbers.
Yeah, we know the numbers.
They're staggering. They're staggering numbers. But Chancellor, I just want to congratulate you, and I want to welcome you to the Oval Office.
Thank you.
It's an Oval Office that's in very good shape. We like fixing things up and having them tippy-top like they have in Germany. They do that in Germany very much, and we do it here. We're having a very good run. I also had a great election, great win, won everything. Won the popular vote, all 7 swing states, which is a big deal. It's pretty unusual to do that. And we have a great mandate from the people, and part of our mandate is we're going to have a great relationship with your country. So I just want to thank you very much for being here, and if you'd like to
I'm not promoting Trump either. Anybody else?
Thank you, first of all, Mr. President, for your kind invitation to come to Washington, D.C. I was in this building first time ever in 1982, I told you, when former President Ronald Reagan was in office. So I'm very happy to be here again and to offer our close cooperation with the United States of America. We are having so much in common, our history. We owe the Americans a lot. We will never forget about that. And so with your German provenance, I think this is a very good basis for close cooperation between America and Germany. So again, thank you. Thank you for the hospitality, and thank you for having your guest house for a night. This is a great place. Great place. Many thanks for that. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's a wonderful place. It's a landmark also. And Blair House, it's a nice place to stay. But thank you very much for saying that. Would you have any questions, please?
Mr. President, on your new travel ban, why now? And if the Boulder attack was part of the reasoning, why not include Egypt on that list where the suspect is from?
Well, because Egypt has been a country that we deal with very closely. They have things under control. The countries that we have don't have things under control. And why now? I can say that it can't come soon enough, frankly. We want to keep bad people out of our country. The Biden administration allowed some horrendous people, and we're getting them out. one by one, and we're not stopping until we get them out. We are.
Hold on, Mr. President. Because when I looked at some of these stuff earlier, like that's here, it wasn't just getting the bad folks out. A lot of these were student visas, right? The F, M, and J visas, student visas. So some of these are overstaying student visas more than they are keeping bad folks out, right? And that's the part. Even Sierra Leone, Togo, Laos, Cuba, Haiti. Yeah, I said it earlier. What's Haiti at? Haiti. I'm gonna get to it. We're gonna get back to the president. I can't find it because it's in here somewhere. I know I've seen it. Sudan, Somalia, Libya, Iran, and Haiti. Here we go. Right. Haiti got the most detailed stuff here about what happened, but you're saying Biden let all these Haitian aliens flood into America, right? But you forget again that it was the Biden administration that was having Haitians, immigrants at the border chased down by horses and whips, right? Let's not forget that. So let's not spin the narrative, Mr. President. Let me get back to him. Let's get back to it.
Thousands of murderers. I even hate to say this in front of the chancellor. Of course, you have a little problem too with some of the people that were allowed into your country. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It shouldn't have happened. I told her it shouldn't have happened what she did. But you have your own difficulty with that.
Isn't that Merkel?
We're moving them out, and we're moving them out very strongly. But it can't come fast enough. We want to get them out. We want to get them out now. We don't want to have other bad people coming into our country. But using the word bad, I'm being nice. Okay.
The Democrats says a distraction.
You put out on Truth Social a post regarding your conversation with President Xi.
Right.
Can you talk about whether or not you feel that trade talks, trade relations are back on track after appearing to be a little bit off track last week?
A little bit off track. It was only the complexity. It's pretty complex stuff. We had a very good conversation with President Xi a little while ago, just before your arrival. In fact, we just hung up, and they said, "You're here." I said, "That's pretty good." Two great leaders of the world in a very short period of time. We had a very good talk, and we've straightened out any complexity. It's very complex stuff, and we straightened it out. The agreement was we're going to have Scott and Howard and Jameson will be going and meeting with their top people and continued forward. But no, I think we have everything. I think we're in very good shape with China and the trade deal. We have a deal with China, as you know, but we were straightening out some of the points, having to do mostly with rare earth, magnets, and some other things.
So those reduced trade tariff rates, they remain in effect?
Yeah, we have the deal. I mean, we've had a deal. We announced the deal, and we'll be, I guess you could say, I wouldn't even say finalizing it up, Scott. I would say we have a deal, and we're going to just make sure that everybody understands what the deal is. Okay. We had a really good conversation. By the way, he invited me to China, and I invited him here. We're both.
Oh, that'll be big.
So I'll be going there with the First Lady at a certain point, and he'll be coming here hopefully with the First Lady.
We'll see, man. That'll be kind of dope. The China trip would be huge if I could get y'all here.
Did you talk about the Chinese students? Are you allowing them to come to
Oh yeah,
to
no,
the US?
Chinese students are coming. No problem. No problem.
Okay,
It's our honor to have them, frankly. Look, we want to have foreign students, but we want them to be checked. You know, in the case of Harvard and Columbia and others, all we want to do is see their list. There's no problem with that. This is anybody outside of our country, international students. Because when we see some of the people that we've been watching, we say, where do these people come from? How is that possible? No, we want to have foreign students come. We're very honored by it, but we want to see their list. Harvard didn't want to give us the list. They're going to be giving us the list now. I think they're starting to behave, actually, if you want to know the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
On Russia, are you willing to put more pressure on Putin to end the war by imposing new sanctions on Russia and also on China?
Here we go.
I'm the one that ended Nord Stream 2, going to a place called Germany, come to think of it. I'm sorry I did that. But I ended Nord Stream 2. Nobody else did. And then when Biden came in, he immediately approved it. That's the largest, essentially the largest pipeline in the world, going to Germany and other countries. And by the way, we have so much oil and gas, you will not be able to buy it all. I mean, you literally, we have so much, and I hope we're going to make that a part of our trade deal because we have more than anybody else. We have actually the most by far in the world, probably double what anyone else has. So I'm sure that's something we'll discuss today.
Mr. President,
what do you expect from Germany and what do you expect from the Chancellor?
Well, first
Scott.
of all, I'm glad to meet because I've been dealing
Welcome
with
back, Scott.
He's a very good man to deal with. He's difficult, I would say. Can I say that? It's a positive.
Go ahead.
You wouldn't want me to say you're easy, right? No. He's a very great representative of Germany. I think all we want is just going to have a good relationship. The rest will just sort of follow very easily. We'll have a good trade deal. I mean, I guess that will be mostly determined by the European Union, but you're a very big part of that, so you'll be involved. But we'll end up hopefully with a trade deal or we'll do something.
Check
we'll
our
do the
six,
tariffs.
wait, fine.
Okay
Chat always popping, man.
We make a deal with the trade, and I guess that's what we're discussing now.
Mr. President,
Please go ahead.
Mr. President?
No, not you.
Is Germany doing enough on defense, Mr. President? Is Germany doing enough on defense?
What?
Defense spending.
Is Germany doing enough on defense?
The Chancellor wants to.
Is Germany doing enough?
Chancellor wants to spend 3.5.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't discussed it very much. I know that you're spending more money on defense now, and quite a bit more money. And that's a positive thing. I'm not sure that General MacArthur would have said it's positive. You know, he wouldn't like it, but I sort of think it's good. You understand what I mean by that, right? He made a statement: never let Germany rearm. And I said, I always think about that when he says, sir, we're spending more money on defense. I say, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. But, you know, at least to a certain point. There'll be a point when I'll say, please don't arm anymore, if you don't mind. We'll be watching him.
Mr. President.
Yeah, Biden, you said Biden.
Your predecessor dismissed your AutoPen investigations and made all the decisions during the presidency. I'm curious your reaction to his dismissal.
Well, look, the AutoPen, I think, is the big scandal
Yeah,
outside
here
of the
we go.
election of 2020. I think the biggest scandal of the last many years is the AutoPen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay, because I'm here. And I'm not a big AutoPen person, fortunately. I'm glad. I'm very glad. It's an easy way out. But it's a very bad thing, very dangerous. You know, I sign important documents. Usually when they put documents in front of you, they're important.
I cannot find my glasses as me rolling. Y'all are hilarious, bro.
And I think it's inappropriate. You have somebody that's devoting 4 years of their life or more to being an ambassador. I think you really that person deserves to get a real signature, not an AutoPen signature. And I can tell AutoPen easily. I can look at it. Like two little pinholes from pulling the paper, right? You always see the pinholes. It's real easy to tell about AutoPen. I think it's very disrespectful to people when they get an AutoPen signature. Outside, AutoPen to me are used when thousands of letters come in from young people all over the country and you want to get them back. And, you know, people use AutoPens for that, to send a little signature at the bottom of a letter where you have thousands of them. We get thousands of letters a week. And it's not possible to, you know, do. I'd like to do it myself, but you can't do it. To me, that's where AutoPens start and stop. But I don't think, I'm sure that he didn't know many of the things. Look, he was never for open borders. He was never for transgender for everybody. He was never for men playing in.
Listen, man, listen. I have nothing against the trans LGBT community, right? But the way Trump labels it is hilarious. Transgender for everyone. It's like, wait, what? It sounds like almost like a t-shirt you get in Walmart or Target, right? It's like, wait, what's this shirt say? I may get this, right? Transgender for everyone. And it's like, bro, what? Look, that is the one thing. I don't care what nobody says. I miss the comedy Trump brings to the White House because it's a generational change. We're not just BSing. It's like, listen, let's crack a joke and keep it moving. Let's be as petty as me, baby. I love it. Let's get back to it.
Sports. I mean, he changed. I mean, all of these things that that changed so radically. I don't think he had any idea that what was, frankly, I said it during the debate and I say it now, he didn't have much of an idea what was going on.
Mr. President,
He shouldn't be, I mean, essentially whoever used the auto pen was the president. And that is wrong, it's illegal, it's so bad, and it's so disrespectful.
It's a distraction too. It's all a distraction.
Mr. President, will you lead your troops in Germany? And if I may ask a question to the Chancellor to answer in German for the German audience, how has your first encounter been?
The answer is yes. We'll talk about that. But if they'd like to have them there, yeah, we have a lot of them, about 45,000. It's a lot of troops. It's a city when you think of it. That's good economic development. They're highly paid troops, and they spend a lot of money in Germany. But the relationship with Germany is very important. Yeah, we'll be doing that. No problem.
May I say a few words in German?
Yes, please.
So, danke für die Frage. Wir sind hier im Weißen Haus und ich bedanke mich beim Präsidenten für den sehr freundlichen Empfang im Oval Office in diesem weltweit bekannten Raum. Ich freue mich sehr, hier zu sein und wir bereiten eine Vertiefung unserer Zusammenarbeit vor. Ich freue mich sehr darüber.
Mr. President, you've made
Mr. President,
Do you speak English because you speak such good English? Is it as good as your German, would you say? No, do you
it's
feel
not
more
my
comfortable?
mother tongue. No, it's not my mother tongue, but I try to understand almost everything and
very
to
good.
speak as good as I can.
Very good. You know, it's,
Mr. President, you've made
it's an achievement, actually.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, can I
the
follow up on the
criticism that I've
auto
seen
pay?
regarding, thank you, Mr. President. The criticism that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, regarding Elon Musk and your big, beautiful.
There was a good comment made earlier. Before we get to Musk and a big, beautiful bill, right? Now, I'm not saying you need DEI. Right? I see my girl Susie Wiles here. One of 3 women I see in the room. I see a lot of white Caucasian men. I see Ricky Rubio, Marco Rubio, representing for, my Cuban Americans that are out there in the world. Some of the other people that are favorite Caucasian, less melanin in their skin, maybe that could be diverse. But there's not a lot of brothers. There's no brothers in the room, Donalds. My boy Byron Donalds, man. Hey, man, listen. Can we at least get 2 brothers who are always standing like right here and right here in the Capitol, in the White House and the Oval Office? Because that would be good just to have a good mix. I know Dr. King's bust is in here somewhere, but just 1 or 2 brothers would be so helpful. Just make the note to Byron Donalds, please. Clip that. Thank y'all.
Bill, what's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which of course what is you're seeking?
Well, look, I've always liked Elon, and it's always very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, the words of, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about 1.6 trillion in cuts.
I'll stop it there. He would rather have him attack him than the bill. That's a different kind of chess move. Attack me personally, me as a president, versus a piece of legislation I'm trying to get through, because you attacking the legislation is only going to make it more divisive for even the senators and the Republicans that are on the fence because of the power and influence you have. But if you talk about me, you know what? That's one thing, because I can distract. But you focusing on the bill itself, it's only going to maybe kill the bill. And I still want to be friends with you, Elon. But you fucked me up, bro. That's my interpretation for the culture.
It's the biggest tax cut. You would say, people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. It's we are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable. And when you look at what we're doing for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all of the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And Elon's
no tax on overtime.
Took the EV mandate, and which was a lot of money for electric vehicles.
How did the girl say? Clip that.
And they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles, and they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago. That's been in there. That's been. I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, Mr.
Yeah, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. Listen, what are we talking about?
From the beginning. But I know that disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, he recommended somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA, and I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like totally Democrat. And I say, you know, look, we won. We get certain privileges, and one of the privileges we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. We have great people. General Kane is going to be picking somebody with our. We'll be checking them out.
The NASA piece is huge. So basically, if you had Trump, if Trump would have picked this guy, this is me thinking out loud here. I mean, Trump saying it, SpaceX would have took off. Like nobody would have ever been able to catch up to Elon money wise because he would have had the entire space and SpaceX. So yeah, Elon hot because of the money he didn't make, and he losing money with Tesla because that was the game. That was a game plan. But you know, America first. So it really Trump saying he putting America first. Like, bro, I don't care who you talking about. I'm not putting a Democrat in there. Listen, this is how we do it here. We're not bipartisan after we win. Because they're not bipartisan after they win. Those days are gone with the Whig Party and George Washington, baby. Back when they used to bring a musket out to the debate. And, hey, you really feel that way? Come on.
Seeing, but he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And you know, I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk. And even with the black eye, I said, do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so, which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship.
Had. Y'all not boys no more? I've been friends with my homies for 20 plus years. Somebody asked me about them. Listen, hey, we still good? We could be not talking for 2-3 months. Yeah, nigga pissed me off last time. He was over here, he threw up in my bathroom type shit and ain't clean up. I did that shit to one of my homies, bro. I fucked up. It was anxiety. It fucked me up. My meds had me all over the place. Either way. Yeah. But I never say, yeah, I don't fuck. Yeah, last I checked on him. That's basically what last I checked on him, he was all right. We had a good relationship. Like, bro, y'all ain't fucking with each other no more. That's crazy. Elon about to split the whole GOP because he got the algorithm. He got Twitter on lock. This is crazy.
I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it. Business is spurred. And I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but the numbers came out. Even the CBO, which is run by Democrats, said that we're going to be doing, you know, I'd like you to discuss it, the 2.8 trillion, that CBO. This is a group of people that are Democrats. They're very hostile to us. They just came out with phenomenal numbers, what it does. You want to mention that, Scott?
Yes, sir. So what we've seen is we keep hearing from the CBO that there's going to be a large deficit from the bill, which we disagree with, but using the CBO scoring, they came out and scored the tariff revenue. We think it'll be the minimum of 2.8 trillion over the 10-year window, which actually puts the bill in surplus if you include the tariff revenue, which they won't do.
That means we're gonna have these tariffs for 10 years. Like, and that's the part we gotta think about. We're gonna put these tariffs in place. We've negotiated tariffs up to the point of like 100, almost 200% with China. Some of these others are there. Okay, cool. So these tariffs gonna stay in place for the next decade, and that's gonna basically offset the price of what we're doing in this tax bill. That makes sense, but a decade worth of tariffs is wild. A decade, that's a tariff war for a whole, I would be damn near 50. And y'all will hopefully still be subscribed and like the channel. So make sure, if it's your first time here, I am your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. I'm a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. We are in our budget conference season. I am on a 1-hour meeting notice. And I was in Punta Cana on Friday. and got notice that they're going to start the budget conference here Monday in Florida. And I had to get back from DR to Florida, Orlando, went home, came to Tallahassee, and we're sitting here. And I have my podcast set up in my apartment here in Tallahassee, Florida, waiting on them to notice the next meeting. And guess what? I said, you know what? I haven't streamed in almost a week, really a week. I got to check in with my team. And guess what? I'm here. So guess what? If you're here, like and subscribe to the channel. I don't like to interrupt the president that much. But when the conversation is good, I like to get there because honestly, this is my thoughts. This is just me for a second. The tariffs are good now to set the standard on what we need to do. But if we have these tariffs in place for 10 years, you don't think things will adjust? The technology, AI, all these things adjusting. How can we base these numbers on an evolving economy? Since 2000 with Y2K in the internet bubble, I've lived through it all. I've started the internet on dial-up. That's why the streamer thing is kind of new to me because I get it, Kaisenet, other folks, cool, right? But I grew up on dial-up. They grew up on YouTube. Different mindset. But together, since we're here, thank y'all for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I don't have a set schedule for my streaming yet. It's very off, but I do like to work off Trump's schedule because he drops the numbers up. And y'all here, but see Trump, not me. So let me stop talking and get back to this.
It gives you a tremendous surplus, but we're not allowed to use that. For some reason, they say scoring. Nobody knows what scoring means. Maybe a couple of people, but nobody. Somebody sits in the background, they say, well, we're not going to allow that. They're not allowing other things that we have that are tremendously profitable for our country. But if you saw the other day, CNBC, they came out with numbers, and the people on the show, very good people, I've watched them for a long time, they couldn't believe the numbers, how good they are. The numbers were incredible. And that was personal income and also very low inflation. We have very low inflation. We're down to 2% now. And maybe even lower than that. And when I took it over, it was a mess. Remember, we had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but let's say I think it's worse than that. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country under the Biden administration.
Uh-oh.
Now we're down to a beautiful number, 2%. You'd actually like to keep it there. Better than zero is 2%. It's going down maybe to 1, and 1% is like perfect. That's perfect. You don't want to have zero for certain reasons that nobody is very interested to listen to. But we have almost perfect inflation. Grocery prices are down. Everything. Remember eggs? Eggs. We weren't going to buy another egg for the next 20 years. They were so expensive, right? Remember? You guys all hit me about eggs. Eggs have come down 400%. Everybody has eggs now. They're having eggs for breakfast again. But if you look at gasoline, very important. I think always the most important because it's the energy is the biggest factor. That's what happened. He screwed up our energy policy, and everything went up because energy went up. But now energy is way down, and they have states where you're at $1.98 a gallon for gasoline. So the costs have come way down, and one of the things I ran on was that. I ran on the border. We have the best border in the history of our country, 99.99%. It was last week, 3 people came in, 2 of them for medical reasons. We let them in because one of them had a heart attack. I think it was a nice thing to do, and one of them had something else. So we've never I had very good numbers for 4 years, but we really topped it. And I want to thank Christy and Tom Holman. They've done a fantastic job. But
real quick, I'll let y'all know. I don't want to pause the stream a lot, but I just got my meeting notice at 1:30. I have a meeting, a pre-K through 12 education meeting. I have a project in the budget that I asked the House. We had $125,000 in the budget. I asked the House and said, hey, can you please just double it to $250 before we get to the next stage? So the Senate comes in, they can match it. And the conference chairwoman doubled my request from $125,000 to $250,000. And hopefully the deal I had in place with the Senate comes in place and we can close it out. And guess what I'm about to go do? Get dressed and see about this. But guess what? We're going to keep the stream going. I'm going to get dressed off camera and we're going to come back. So hopefully by the time Trump's done, I can get out of here in the next 30 minutes. We'll probably wrap up the stream around 1. I'm going to head out to the Capitol, get our money. But guess what? More than anything, again, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because yesterday we locked down our funding for Holocaust survivors living in South Florida. Yes, Holocaust survivors that are living in South Florida, New York, and LA, and Florida have the highest contingency of Holocaust survivors in the world. I don't care what you feel about other narratives. What I care about is the impact we can make for people. So I have a project dealing with that and Black youth kids for mentorship programs. Right now, the state of Florida has 11 projects that are focused on mentorship for kids in the state of Florida. I mean, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club. One of my clients is right there in the same pot of money fighting. And guess what I have to go do? Finish my job. So more than anything, I'm gonna finish this stream up. Let's get it going here. Then I'm headed down to the Capitol. And from here, we're going to not only go get this bag, but we're going to try streaming later, and I will have an update for y'all. But anything, let's get back to Trump. I appreciate y'all tapping in. Please make sure you like and subscribe because I'm actually a real political operative. Sharing my 2 cents about politics. But either way, thank y'all. Let's get to it.
Nobody mentions that anymore. Remember, a few months ago, the border was a total disaster. People were coming in by the hundreds of thousands of people a day, a week, a month. I mean, we had a month, 2 million people came in 1 month. The border was being overrun and a lot of bad people, criminals, murderers, drug dealers. We had some of the worst people in the world coming in from all over the world. It's totally closed. And you know what? People are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. So we've done a great job. Elon knew that. Elon endorsed me very strongly. He actually went up and campaigned for me. I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, who's, I mean, he's a sick puppy, that guy, that poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice with him. But if you pick Shapiro or anybody else, I spoke to him recently about his, you know, his house being set on fire, which was terrible. But if they picked him, I would have won Pennsylvania. I won it by a lot. But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have
Wait a minute. What this means. Trump is about to start peeling the onion back. That's what this really means. We about to start peeling the onion back now, Trump. I love it.
Combustion.
Let's go, man.
We want to have hybrids. We want to have we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, it became a little bit different. And I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Wow.
I just want to clarify, did he raise any of these concerns with you privately before he raised them publicly? And this is the guy you put in charge of cutting spending.
Right.
Take him seriously about spending now?
Right, Trump.
Sour grapes?
No, he worked hard and he did a good job. And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place.
Oh yeah,
he got out there and all of a sudden he wasn't in this beautiful Oval Office and he's got nice offices too. But there's something about this one. I was telling the Chancellor, this is where it is. People come in here, even from Germany. They come in and they walk into the Oval Office, and it's just a special place. It's, you know, World War I, it started and it ended here, and World War II, and so many other things. Everything big comes right from this beautiful space. It's now much more beautiful than it was 6 months ago. A lot of good things are happening in this room, and I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave my administration and they love us.
You're right. I'll be back, y'all.
At some point they miss it so badly, and some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it, but we have it with others too. They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile. I don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it. You'll let us know. Yeah.
Mr. President, speaking of ending wars in this room, you were very critical of Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. What kind of play is he playing from your perspective? What
got hit. He's been doing hitting, so I understand it. But he got hit hard. And I don't think he's playing games. I think I've always said he wanted the whole thing. I thought he wanted the entire, everything having to do with Ukraine. That's something that would have never happened if I were president. The election was rigged. I didn't get to be president, but I got to be president now. And I think it's a much more important presidency. Other than a couple of things like that, the war would have never happened. The war with Ukraine, with Putin, would have never happened, ever, not even a chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years. And it wasn't thought of. I used to talk to him about Ukraine a lot. It was the apple of his eye, but he would have never done what he did. And I think mistakes were made by him, but I think mistakes were made by other people. The president should have never allowed that war. Biden should have never allowed that war to happen. If you had the right guy in here, that war would have never happened. Israel would have never happened with Hamas. That would have never happened. The attack on Israel would have never happened because Iran was broke. They had no money. They had no money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. And all of that would have never happened. Inflation wouldn't have happened. It was caused mostly by energy. And the Biden administration messed up my great energy policy. We were down into the $1.90 a gallon, and it would have never happened. It was caused by energy and their bad spending on the Green New Scam and other things that they spent on. But all of those things would have never happened. But maybe most importantly, the war, Chancellor, with Russia would never have happened with Ukraine. It was something that would have, you know, I dealt with Putin a lot. There was no chance, zero. And, you know, a lot of people say, how do you know? For 4 years it didn't happen. There was never a chance of it happening. And he understood the consequences. Now, it's a shame. And when you see all of those people, they came out with a report today that that millions of people have died, much more than people thought. And I've been saying that for a long time. The amount of death in that war is far greater than the news has been reporting, or than, frankly, that either side has been reporting. It's a very sad thing. And I can tell you, just speaking for the Chancellor, because we speak about it, he feels the same way. He wants to see it ended. Would you like to say something?
Absolutely. And I'm here, Mr. President, to talk with you later on how we could contribute to that goal. And we all are looking for measures and for instruments to bring this terrible war to an end. And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant day.
This was not a great day.
In the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
That's true. That's true.
And we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that America is again in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So let's talk about what we can do jointly, and we are ready to do what we can. And you know that we gave support to Ukraine, and that we are looking for more pressure on Russia. The European Union did, and we should talk about that.
We will talk about it. And, you know, it's good timing. The numbers for our country are through the roof, the economic numbers, because of the election and because of tariffs and other things, a lot of things. But we've had some of the best numbers we've ever had. They were reported yesterday, the day before, and even today. Country's doing really well. I think that one of the things you'll be most interested in is that 6 months ago we were having a hard time getting anybody to join our military. I mean, they just couldn't do it. The numbers were record low. We couldn't get people to join the military. It wasn't me. This was before I got there, the past administration. But 6 months ago, a year ago, the numbers were record low. You couldn't get them to join. That included the police. And you couldn't get them to join. Now, we just hit the highest number in the history of our country, we think, but very close, but the highest in the history of our country, recruitment. Joining the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, police forces all over the country.
What did you do for that? What was the reason?
Spirit. They love our country again. You're going to do the same thing. Spirit.
Mr. President,
we have great spirit is back in our country, and it's very simple. And, you know, it was only, Susie, 6 months ago, right, that you got reports, you're the one that released them, that you couldn't get anybody to join the military, and now we're stopped. Every service now is packed, and we have waiting lists of people trying to get in, as good as we've ever had in the history of our country. So that's an honor. That's a great honor.
Mr. President,
Mr. President, on the war.
You've asked. You've had enough. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, so would you consider to put more sanctions on Russia? Because this discussion is going on now for weeks and months, and you tweeted about it once, but then nothing happens. So
yeah, when I see the moment when we're not going to make a deal, when this thing won't stop,
is there a deadline?
At that
for you?
moment, yeah, it's in my brain, the deadline. When I see the moment where it's not going to stop, and I'm sure you're going to do the same thing, will be very, very, very tough. And it could be on both countries, to be honest. You know, it takes two to tango. But we're going to be very tough, whether it's Russia or anybody else. We're going to be very tough. That's a bloodbath that's going on over there. And when I see the moment where I say, well, they're going to just keep fighting. You know, I gave the analogy yesterday when I spoke to President Putin. I had a 2-hour, 15-minute call with him. Sometimes, and this is me speaking maybe in a negative sense, but sometimes you see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot, because both sides are suffering, before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have two kids, they fight. Sometimes you let them fight for a little while. You see it in hockey. You see it in sports. The referees let them go for a couple of seconds, let them go for a little while before you pull them apart. And maybe, and I said it, and maybe that's a negative because we're saying go, but a lot of bad blood. There's some bad blood between the two. I have to deal with it, and the Chancellor has to deal with it. It's incredible. The level of, there's a great hatred between those two men, but between the warring parties. Great hatred.
What make you say and believe, apparently, that there's no immediate peace?
What?
That there is no immediate peace. There will no.
Well, I can't. I'd love to have immediate if I could.
But why
if I could, but we don't have immediate. You know, it's like I'd love to have that. I'd like it to start right now. We would leave a room if we knew the war could end. We'd say, forget about you guys. Forget about trade, right? Yeah. We'd say, let's go settle it. There's some additional fighting that's going to go on. You know, he attacked, and they attacked pretty harshly. They went deep into Russia, and he actually told me, I mean, I made it very clear. He said, we have no choice but to attack based on that, and it's probably not going to be pretty. I don't like it. I said, don't do it. You shouldn't do it. You should stop it. But again, there's a lot of hatred. And, you know, I'm very proud of the fact that with India and Pakistan, I was able to stop that. And those are nuclear powers. That was getting close to being out of hand. And I spoke to some very talented people on both sides, very good people on both sides. And I said, you know, we're dealing with you on trade, Pakistan and India right now. I said, we're not going to deal with you on trade if you're going to go shooting each other and whipping out nuclear weapons that maybe even affect us. Because, you know, that nuclear dust blows across oceans very quickly. It affects us. And I said, if you're going to do that, we're not going to do any trade deals. And you know what? I got that war stopped. Now, I hope we don't go back and we find out that they started, but I don't think they will. They were both good. They were well represented. I want to congratulate both countries because, as you know, the leader of India, who's a great guy, was here a few weeks ago. We had some great talks. We're doing a trade deal. And Pakistan, likewise, they have very, very strong leadership. Some people won't like when I say that, but, you know, it is what it is. And they stopped that war. Now, am I going to get credit? I'm not going to get credit for anything. They don't give me credit for anything. But nobody else could have done it. I stopped it. I was very proud of that. I wish we could do the same thing with Ukraine and Russia. And at some point it'll happen. I believe that. And if it doesn't happen, or if I see somebody's out of line, if Russia's out of line, you'll be amazed how tough. Remember this. They like to say that I'm friends with Russia. I'm not friends with anybody. I'm friends with you. I'm not friends with that. I want the right thing to happen for our country, for everybody, for humanity. But I'm the one that stopped the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. Until I came along, nobody ever heard, not one person in this room ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You probably did, yes, because it went to Germany. He's the only one that heard.
This was a mistake.
But I stopped him. I stopped it. Yeah, and you've said that openly. Yeah. It was a mistake because, and I used to go with Angela. I'd say, well, wait a minute. We're spending all this money to defend you against Russia, and then you're giving Russia billions of dollars a month. What kind of a deal is that? You know, which was, but you said it better than anybody else. I appreciate it. But I'm the one that stopped it. And that was the biggest economic development job, if you want to call it that, in the history, think of it, in the history of Russia. That was a massive, it's the biggest pipeline in the world. Going to go all over Europe, not only to Germany. You know, they're Germany, but then they were branching off all over to Europe. Nobody ever heard of it. Not one person of you heard of it. And I stopped it. It was dead. And then they say, I'm friends with Putin. I got along with him. He respected me, I respected him. It would have never happened. But I stopped Nord Stream 2. When Biden came in, almost the first week, he approved it. He let it be built. And then they say that I wasn't tough on Russia. Putin said to me, you know, you're not tough on Russia. You stopped the biggest, most important job we've ever done. You stopped it. And Biden came in and he let it be built. And I'll tell you what, I'll never forget the day. I had it totally stopped. They weren't building. They gave up on it. They weren't able to. And then Biden came in and he let him build. I couldn't believe it. Okay, one or two questions more, please. Any questions? Any questions for the Chancellor?
Yes,
go ahead for the Chancellor.
That would be one.
I like his answers much better.
Well, would you continue to support Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm with Ukraine. We just signed a big deal on rare earth with Ukraine, and I want to. You know what? I'm for stopping killing. Really, that's what I'm for. Again, a war that would have never started, should have never started. I want to see the killing stop. We spent $350 billion, much more than Europe, but Europe spent a lot also, and they spent way over $100 billion.
Yeah.
So you're talking about close to $500 billion went into that whole thing. And it's not even the money, and I know with you too, it's a lot of money, but it's the death that's being caused. We went to the Middle East. I went last week to the Middle East. We took in $5.1 trillion. That's many, many times. That's 30, 40 times, 50 times more than what we're talking about. It's think of that, $5.1 trillion of investment with one trip that lasted 4 days. So it's not the money. It's a little the money, but not the money, the big thing. The big thing is the death. The death of, and really the decimation. You've lost a whole culture. You know, Ukraine had the most beautiful turrets. They call them turrets, little towers, beautiful towers, the most beautiful in the world. They're all now laying on their side, blown to smithereens. It'll never happen again. They've taken away the culture of a country. They've taken away the heritage of a country. It's a terrible thing. But most importantly, again, is the death. 5,000 plus people a week, soldiers, are being killed. He doesn't want that, and I don't want that. One more. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, do you support the Graham bill on putting high tariffs?
I have not looked at it, but they'll be guided by me. That's the way it's supposed to be. They're going to be guided by me. No, I haven't looked at it. It's a bill on sanctions, etc. I'm a very quick study. At the right time, I'll do what I want to do. But it could very well be okay. I'll have to see. But they're waiting for me to decide on what to do, and I'll know maybe very soon. It's a harsh bill. Yeah, very harsh.
How about one more on the auto pen, Mr. President? You want to take one more on the auto pen?
Go ahead. I would like to have a question to Cass as well. Because, do you agree with the analogy the President made on the war between Russia and Ukraine as being a fight between two kids? Is that how you view that as well? And what do you actually want the U.S. President to do in this?
Well, I think we both agree on and how terrible this war is going on. And we are both looking for ways to stop it very soon. And I told the president before we came in that he is the key person in the world who can really do that now by putting pressure on Russia. And we will have this debate later on again, how we can proceed jointly between the Europeans and the Americans. And I think we are all we are having the duty to do something on that now to stop it. After 3.5 years.
You gotta get ready, y'all. So, you know.
Look at the kids.
Time my time on stream.
Which were kidnapped from Ukraine to Russia. This is all terrible. And so we are talking about instruments, measures, what we can do. And my personal view is clear on that. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we are trying to get them stronger and stronger just to make Putin stop this war. And this is our approach.
We get satellite pictures of the war field,
Yeah.
and you don't even like to look at them, right?
It's terrible.
So,
it's really
bodies, arms, heads, legs, all over the place. You've never seen anything like it. It's so ridiculous.
And this is only by Russian weapons against Ukraine. This had never happened with Ukraine weapons against Russia. Never. Ukraine is only targeting military targets, not civilians, not private, not energy infrastructure. So this is the difference, and that's the reason why we are trying to do more on Russia, how to stop this war.
Well, in this case, I'm talking about the battlefield. You know,
That's not bad, chat, is it?
But you could also say that.
What y'all think about the tie, chat?
Cities are being hit also. So it's a terrible.
Appreciate y'all. What y'all think about the tie?
Somebody said autopen.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Because I think it's the biggest scandal maybe in the last 100 years in this country. So when I hear that word, I think it has to be discussed because the fake news will try and hide it, and we can't do that.
Appreciate you, Chris.
Have you uncovered any evidence that anything specific was signed without President Biden's knowledge or by other people in the administration acting illegally?
Well, I don't think Biden would know whether or not he signed it.
I'm asking if you've uncovered any of that information.
No, but I've uncovered, the human mind. I was in a debate with the human mind.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think he knew what the hell he was doing. So, it's just one of those things, one of those problems. We can't ever allow that to happen to our country. The danger our country was in, and I know some of the people that worked with him, radical left, horrible people. And I could give you the name of some of the people that use the autopen because I'm here, and I ask questions about people that were here also. There are a lot of people that were here when that happened, and they're here right now, and they'll answer your question very accurately. But I know some of the people that use that autopen, and those are not the people that had the same ideology as Joe Biden. These were radical left lunatics that used that, and they didn't get elected. He didn't get elected either, actually. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, man, you know, Trump is always good for a nice little jab at the end. Now, I want to appreciate everybody who's tapping in for the stream. I am your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. I had to cut the camera off briefly to get ready. I am on a 1-hour meeting notice. And during the stream, I saw that I have a 1:30 meeting about my pre-K through 12 education project. And I'll be honest and transparent with you. I have a deal cut with the Senate, but the Senate did not match my fund right now. I don't know what's going on, so I have to head to committee. If anything, I'm on Instagram. Hip Hop Lobbyist, HIPHOPLOBBYIST. You can follow me because I am recording my content with my Ray-Ban Meta glasses, who hopefully will be a sponsor of the podcast soon. So either way, I'll be recording some content so you can see the day in the life of lobbyists. Hopefully I'll be able to take a lot of this content, at least put it together on YouTube so you all can check it out and actually see what I do as a professional government affairs expert or operative. Anyway, I'm tapping out of this stream. I appreciate everybody who's taking time out of their day to tap in right now. I don't think I'll be back on until maybe 9 o'clock tonight. We'll pick up on the Diddy trial. Elon. I haven't got the Elon all the way. Again, I had some technical difficulties yesterday. I tried to stream last night. Say, let me have like a 1 a.m. midnight stream. We started streaming about 45 minutes in. And then the audio wasn't coming in from the video. It kind of messed me up. And if you happen to be here last night, I appreciate you tapping in. I told you I was going to come back today with the Trump stream, but shit happens. Either way, thank you for being a loyal fan, a subscriber. If you don't know, beginning of April, we had 300 subs. May was a great month. This is actually one of my first streams in June. And I want to make sure that we're consistent, building this community out of over 1,800 people who subscribed. And honestly, again, I didn't expect to get over 1,200 subs in the month of May. Help me monetize this channel, grow this channel. And I have a goal right now of 2,500. 2,500 for the month of June is the goal. If we surpass that, it's great, because I don't want to be super liberal and super progressive and say, let's go get 10,000 subs this month. No, I want to be conservative. If I did 1,200 last month, got me 1,800. Let me see if we can do at least 700, 800 this month. So if you're here, please help your boy reach that goal. I haven't checked the subscriber count today to see where we are. But anyway, I appreciate you tapping in. Either way, I have $250,000 in a project to go get. I have $750,000 for a courthouse that, luckily, I didn't say this, the House had $678,000 for my courthouse in earlier. They bumped it up to $750,000, which is great. I also have a water project. The water project list has not come out. They said they're doing between $200 million and $400 million of water projects, and I got to go see about getting my stuff in my cities. Either way, thank you for tapping in. Make sure you like and subscribe. I am the Hip Hop Lobbyist. I am out.